It has never been easier to generate clients for your agency online. And today, I'll share with you how you can do this for your own business, whether you're brand new or already doing 5 to even 6 figures of revenue per month. I'll talk about the marketing channels that we can use to generate new traffic, how to actually build a community of raving fans, and ultimately how to even scale your business so it runs on autopilot and creates you income while you sleep. Hey guys, my name is Lloyd, and in the last couple years, I've helped over 130 plus companies around the world scale to 6 and even 7 figures per year, most of which were actually agencies. So everything that I'm gonna be sharing with you today is what allowed us to scale our business to over 60K in profit per month, as well as what has helped our clients also achieve similar results. Now, before we go into the screen share, please just comment below what are the most effective things that you've done so far to grow your agency. I'd love to hear from you and your experience. So the first thing that you need to understand in order to really scale your agency is that the offer is probably the most important thing, even more so than your marketing strategies and your lead generation strategy. And the reason why is because even if you have the best sales skills or the best marketing tactics in the world, if your offer is undifferentiated, if it's weak, if it's not compelling to your audience, then you are going to fail. Literally, I've seen multiple companies who use the exact same sales funnel and the same marketing channels, yet one still performs better than the other, and is not really because they're doing anything different when it comes to the growth strategies. It's just because one has a better offer, which is easier to get people to say yes to. How do you actually build a really compelling offer? There's really 3 things that you want to be looking at when it comes to the agency world that will allow you to create a no-brainer offer, all right? So the first thing, how bold is the transformation that you are claiming you can make? It's one thing if you just say, I'll generate you leads, I'll get you more clients. Literally anyone can say that, and everyone's heard of this claim before. However, if you want to make it a stronger claim, perhaps what you can say is, listen, I will put my money where my mouth is. I'll guarantee you this specific result. I'll guarantee you a certain amount of leads, or I'll even guarantee you a certain amount of booked calls or revenue in the door, right? Now, naturally, the more that you're making these bold claims, the riskier it might be for you, because you got to fulfill on these claims. And obviously, the bolder the claim, usually the harder it is to ultimately fulfill on that promise. But that's why it makes it profound. That's why it makes it impactful. There's a ton of companies these days that, because they've solved fulfillment, they're willing to have performance plans, or they're willing to take a profit share based on the actual results or the outcome of the campaign. And for them, they're going to be able to generate more money because it's much easier to say yes to that offer, because at the end of the day, more client friendly, and it's a much bolder claim. So keep that in the back of your mind as far as how impactful is transformation and how certain you make it seem as though you are in terms of getting the ROI for the end client. Now, the next element is how saturated is that market or that audience. If you're selling to the most common niches out there, such as dentistry or real estate agents, the reality is these people have been marketed to for 5 to 10 years from marketing agencies just like yours. And because they've seen so many of these different offers, everyone and their mother has offered them like a Facebook ad campaign or a YouTube ad campaign, they are much less likely to say yes to you. Maybe it's because they've been burned in the past by a similar agency, or perhaps it's just because of the fact that they've kind of filtered out all the noise of all the people trying to prospect into them. Regardless, the saturation of that particular audience makes it much harder for you to end up getting results. Whereas if you compare and contrast that to, say, an industry that is a little bit newer, maybe they haven't simply seen that many marketing tactics. In fact, recently I came across an agency that specifically goes after farmers who sell grass-fed, grass-finished meat. Super, super niche. There's definitely not a lot of agencies that are going after that specific industry. That vertical knows so little about marketing and probably gets marketed to so infrequently that they're going to be much more likely to bite on a claim, even if that claim isn't super differentiated. So ideally for you and your agency, you're not going after an industry that has literally 2,000 other agencies trying to prospect into them every single day. Now, in the situation that you're going after an industry which is already fairly saturated, perhaps you've already created an offer or an agency for real estate or med spas, whatever it may be, what you need to make sure is that the novelty of the offer is strong. And what I mean by the novelty of the offer is that however you are making the claim to get the results, the vehicle to get the claim needs to be unique. So one example of a vehicle could be Facebook ads. You're using Facebook ads in order to generate the leads. But obviously, Facebook ads have been around for a long time now, and maybe once upon a time, offering Facebook ads to dentists to get clients was really fascinating and people wanted to test it out. But now there's like a billion companies that do that. So the novelty of the offer is gone. The novelty of the vehicle specifically, the method of getting the results is gone. So if you want to increase the novelty, perhaps you try a bit of a different method, a different vehicle. So TikTok ads could be an example. That's fairly new. Not many people have been trying to execute it yet. And certainly not many people have solved it to genuinely get an ROI. Another novel offer could be installing a sales team. Most of the time, people are just trying to pitch paid advertising. But if you were to say, hey, dentist, you probably don't follow up with any of your leads in your CRM or any of the leads that are coming through paid traffic and you're leaving a ton of money on the table, what I do is I'll pretty much have a call center that calls all of your leads to maximize the amount of call bookings that you're getting. That is something that the typical dentist probably has not heard before. So even though they as an industry have been pitched to a lot, the fact is the method or the solution is really new to them, and new is often better than better. So these are a couple ways in which you can make your offer just seem a lot more compelling, which will allow your sales team or you, if you're still closing, to generate significantly more results and more call bookings, even if you're relying on the same marketing strategies as someone else in your competition. All right, now that you understand the importance of the offer, let's dive into traffic. Because of course, you need to make sure that people are even aware that you exist for you to ultimately sell them. So how do you do this? Well, there's plenty of channels in which you can generate top of the funnel traffic. Here are just a couple examples. You could use your website. The way that you would drive traffic to your website could be via SEO, search engine optimization. So you'd have to create lots and lots of blog posts and articles and backlinks. I actually don't really recommend this. It's significantly harder, takes a lot longer, and it's not even really organic per se, because most of the people who are ranking at the top of the SEO searches, they're probably paying an agency or paying a ton of content writers to be creating that level of volume. So I'm gonna actually recommend you that social media is probably the best bet in order to gain this top of the funnel traffic, all right? So I'll be actually sharing with you a couple specific ways in which you can get this traffic and ultimately convert them into raving fans and buyers of yours. But I do want to set the caveat. In today's video, I'm not going to be able to go into extreme depth of how to use every one of these individual channels. So I actually have a playlist here that goes deeper into each individual marketing channel. And you can find tutorials on LinkedIn, on Facebook, on Reddit, on Instagram of how you can really build and monetize those particular social media channels. Today, I'll be going a little bit more high level. And one more thing that I do want to emphasize is that you want to be primarily focusing on one channel at the start. Because too many entrepreneurs struggle with what I call shiny object syndrome, where they see that they could generate clients via all of these different channels, so they end up trying to do everything, but they do everything kind of mediocrely, if that's even a word, instead of going really deep into a specific channel and really doing a good job of monetizing it. They go a mile wide and they pretty much do a poor job using any of the channels. So it's much better for you to just pick one, the one that has your ideal audience, and really go deep into it, figure out how to truly optimize it for conversion, figure out how to automate it. And from what I've seen, having worked with so many clients, you can usually scale to over 100K a month, even if you only have one marketing channel, as long as it's been fully solved. All right, so the first channel that I want to talk about that you can use to monetize your agency is Facebook. This is actually one of my favorite channels to use because of the ease of which to find your actual ideal prospects. Now, the first thing that you want to do is to optimize your personal profile, because you can almost consider that your personal profile is like a resume or a billboard. The content that you're sharing here is going to ultimately dictate whether or not someone feels like you're credible enough to want to speak with you. So that's why I share personal stories, I share customer testimonials, I have really great educational videos in my profile, and if you were to go to mine, you can actually check out all the different content that I'm creating in order to create that credibility. Now, what I was saying earlier was that Facebook makes it quite easy for you to find the ideal buyers that you're selling to. So let's pretend that your marketing agency is serving tattoo studios. You're helping tattoo studios with design or with lead generation, whatever it may be. If you were to just go into the search bar and search up tattoo studios, you can pretty much find Facebook groups which are catered towards those particular audiences. So you can imagine the tattoo convention group or the tattoo artist looking for work group. All of these groups are going to contain a pretty good amount of people that are in your market. And that's really great because now you can actually very quickly find the people that you're trying to sell to. The question is, how do you actually start selling to them? There's a couple ways. The first way is you could just do very basic outreach. The way that I would typically do outreach is you would go to the people section inside one of these groups and you would just DM them. Now, the challenging thing here is not every single person is going to be a great fit for you. Some of these people might be CEOs of tattoo studios or business owners at tattoo studios, and you can see that there's a couple here. Whereas some might just be tattoo enthusiasts, right? As well, the challenge with doing outbound marketing and just doing a bunch of cold DMs is the fact that it's gonna take quite a long time. And that's why I like to use a tool called Pepper, because Pepper allows you to be able to do this much more scalably. It's a software that you can actually use to automate a lot of the outreach. So pretty much you just download the Chrome extension, you sign up for the tool. Not only will it allow you to send out typically around 50 outreaches a day, you can send out less if you prefer. Pepper allows you to even utilize keywords so that you're only going after people that have a certain description or title. And this allows you to really cut out some of the more low quality leads, if you will. Particularly helpful when you're going after a group with like 30,000 followers. With that being said, outbound marketing works well, but it also is going to be an uphill battle because when people don't know who you are, you're a complete stranger, they're much less likely to trust you enough to jump on a call. So the way that I would actually go about maximizing conversion is I would take those members that you're connecting with and I would drive them into my own community. So here's actually my Facebook group. It has around 5,000 people. Everyone here is an entrepreneur, a CEO. They're typically building an online business. And here is where I can essentially nurture them with additional content. I can give them guides. I can give them additional content. And this way I can indoctrinate them over time and build more trust. You can see here, I've included a ton of freebies, interviews and whatnot. And the cool thing is when people join, I can even collect all their emails and I can send them a DM in order to start a bit of a conversation with them. And ultimately it's over the DMs where I can build a bit more trust and actually convert them into a sales call. So, and if you wanted to see an example of that, you can actually check out this conversation that I had with Nick. And in the DMs, he actually is telling me, hey, I'm looking for some lead generation, some appointment setting services. Let me know when you can talk. And this is pretty much where conversion is gonna happen because most of the time, people aren't just gonna find your calendar link and book on their own. You're usually gonna have to have a little bit of an exchange in the DMs to ultimately book a call with you in your calendar. All right, so moving on to Instagram, this is another channel that you can use to drive top of the funnel awareness and leads for your agency. So here's actually an example of one of my close friends, and he runs an email marketing agency. So the first thing that you're gonna wanna understand is that your profile itself needs to be optimized. You want it to be filled with quality content that shows your results, shows your ability to actually drive value. So I mean, this is pretty good, it's branded. I don't love that there's like no humans in the pictures. I think it's much easier to connect with a human being than it is to connect with just a company. Obviously, the credibility still kind of speaks for itself. Here's like another example, I would say, of someone who's much more so on the other end. She helps tattoo artists and tattoo studios scale and get more clients. And with her, it's definitely much more of a personal brand because she does not just done for you, but also a little bit of coaching consulting. So multiple different ways in which you can actually execute. Now, how do you actually utilize Instagram? Well, I would actually say the easiest way that you can get off the ground with no cost is you find your competitors and you just pretty much reach out to their followers. Let's say you were a rival agency going after tattoo studios, then you would just go to her followers and you pretty much just hit up all of them in the DMs. You can also hit up the people who've commented on her because you can assume that they're probably a little bit of more quality in terms of fit and intention. So as far as how you would actually go and DM them, if you're DMing them cold, my recommendation is that you don't just immediately go for pitching them into your offer. Generally speaking, that's not going to work. It's gonna feel very salesy. Instead, have a little bit more of like a rapport-driven conversation. Talk to people, ask them, oh, like how long have you been a tattoo artist for? Are you currently trying to get more people to book up your slots in your calendar as an artist? It's much better for you to have a little bit of a lighthearted conversation, ask them questions, and then once they tell you that they have some goals or they have some problems, then book them into a call. So I actually have a different video right here that talks all about how you can schedule meetings in the DMs and really convert a high percentage of those conversations into scheduled calls. So definitely check that out. Another method that you could use to try to find your ideal audience would be to just use hashtags. So you can find specific hashtags inside Instagram, and then from there, whether it be the commentees or the people who actually posted the post, you are able to then DM them. So this is a little bit manual. My recommendation is that you probably employ a virtual assistant to go and just build a spreadsheet of all the good leads that they've been able to find. So you have your virtual assistant do all the scraping of the hashtags and finding of the actual profiles, and then you can spend your time actually DMing them. So that's probably my recommendation. The next channel that you can try out is Upwork. Upwork is pretty cool because it's essentially like a marketplace where people are looking to hire freelancers, and then freelancers and agencies are obviously looking for jobs. So really the key here is that you need to have a really, really good success rate. So when you first start your Upwork profile, it's honestly a little bit difficult because you don't have a reputation yet, but you can still supplement that if you have testimonials off Upwork just on your website. You can copy and paste a lot of the copy there and try to earn as much credibility as you can, even if you don't have built-in reviews. But certainly as you get more and more reviews directly on the platform, I have a lot of friends who've been able to scale their companies to over $50,000 a month just through using Upwork, all right? So it's completely viable. It just takes a little bit of time to get off the ground. Another thing that is important to understand, generally speaking with Upwork, if you are 100% reliant on just the people who are finding you, finding your profile, you're going to end up failing. So with Upwork, it's really important that you build out an actual outbound engine. So the cool thing is inside Upwork, you're able to actually go and essentially find jobs. So this is like a profile that I might have, and I can search for lead generation jobs or web development jobs, whatever it is that you're trying to look for. And then you can find them and you can pretty much just DM and outreach to all these people proactively. So don't just wait for people to go and find your profile. Go and make pitches and try to convince people that, hey, you can potentially be of service to them. The next channel that I would say is YouTube. Obviously, you're watching a YouTube video right this second, and I think that it is an amazing channel. Literally, I only started my YouTube channel 2.5 months ago. I've already successfully booked 20 sales calls and closed a handful of deals. So the payoff has been massive. Now, the thing with YouTube is it's a much longer play. You have to be willing to spend quite a lot of time into content creation. It's by no means fast. It typically is a little bit painful at first because you got to learn how to get comfortable with the camera. You got to script out content. Maybe you need to learn how to edit videos, which is a little bit outside of most people's skill sets, to be honest. I mean, it was certainly outside of my skill set when I first started. Over time, you can delegate a lot of this. You can hire someone who could edit your videos, but it's still going to be a little bit of an investment up front. But I think the benefit with YouTube is the fact that you're really able to build long-term trust. Not only does it generate top of the funnel traffic, but you're able to get someone to really, really feel like you're credible, which is truthfully not something which Facebook or Instagram or Upwork can do quite as effectively. Sure, you can have short form content or text and written content or reviews on all of those platforms, but it's just different when someone consumes hours and hours and hours of your videos and then books a call with you. They're so much more qualified and ready to buy. I love that about YouTube. And despite YouTube not actually having direct messages, the cool thing is that you can just put a lot of links in the description box in your YouTube videos to either book a call or even to DM you. So right now I'm actually on my LinkedIn profile, and you can see a lot of people do end up just DMing me on LinkedIn because they saw my YouTube channel. So these are the types of conversations that also are very easily booked into sales calls because once again, now you can have a little bit of a back and forth in them. You can talk to them, you can understand their problems, you can proactively schedule the call, and they're already super warm because they've seen hours and hours of your content. So that's what you're seeing here with Elaine, that's what you're seeing here with chat. Now, LinkedIn in and of itself is also a really, really good platform to use. Same thing as always, you wanna make sure that your LinkedIn profile itself is optimized. So having your profile almost be written with sales copy, sharing exactly how you've been able to help your clients. I put all my video testimonials directly inside this little LinkedIn featured section, sharing people that I've been able to successfully get results. Obviously, writing this in a way where people can immediately understand how I can add value, that's really helpful. Now, that's only just the start. In order to actually execute this successfully, you gotta then go and start using Sales Navigator in order to find your ideal prospects. Now, I actually have a separate video right here that talks super into depth about how to use Sales Navigator, how to identify your ideal prospects, but just understand really quickly that what Sales Navigator allows you to do is it allows you to find your ideal customers based off of these search parameters. So whether that be geography, maybe they're in a specific country or city, or their job title or their industry. So whoever it is that you're trying to go after, you can find them. So I'm not gonna do this right now just because this video pretty much has all the information you need to know about how to use Sales Navigator, but I can show you one of the pre-existing searches that I've built. And here you can actually find all the people that fit this particular search parameter, which is in England, in financial services, at this mid-sized company. And once you do this, you have a couple options, right? The first thing that you can do, you can manually go into their profile and you can send them a message. This is going to be a bit slower, but when you manually send out the messages, you're able to personalize it much more, and that's going to increase the conversion rate. Because imagine you're able to do research on their website, into their social media, and you come up with a really customized message just for them. That's gonna separate you from the pack, because most people these days just wanna spam outreach and send out like 1,000 hand copy and paste messages every single day. That being said, if you do prefer to automate, you actually can use a tool such as Dripify, which will allow you to pretty much automate all the outbound messaging and the connection requests, and even other actions such as viewing someone's profile or leaving them a recommendation. This can be all taken over by software, which speeds up the time. It might lower your conversion rate a little bit because obviously your messaging is not as personalized, but hey, it really depends on what your preferences are. And I actually have this guide right here that goes into how you can really automate your LinkedIn outreach, and this guide right here, which goes deeper into how you can use LinkedIn if you wanted to do it in a more personalized approach. Now, the next strategy that you can use is something that you're gonna probably need a virtual assistant's help on because it's very manual. But if you're going after businesses that are brick and mortar, for example, tattoo studios, as we had described before, but this works well for dentists and real estate agents and whoever else as well, you can pretty much just go into Google Maps or Google Directories, and you can have a virtual assistant pretty much scrape all the emails and phone numbers from Google's website, right? And if you're looking to actually do cold callings as your primary method of booking calls, you can actually check out this video here that goes into deeper levels of depth about how you can really hook people on the phone and book as many meetings as you possibly can. And finally, I wanna share with you a tool called Apollo. It's pretty nifty because just like how Sales Navigator can find you a bunch of LinkedIn profiles based on particular search parameters, Apollo will allow you to find emails and phone numbers based on parameters as well. So you have pretty much the same filters, and I can even just share with you some of the filters that I built in the past. So let's say I was going after founders of small software companies, and Apollo will just spit out hundreds of thousands potentially. And then what you can even do is message all those people directly inside Apollo. So not only will Apollo find you the appropriate contacts to go after, but it'll even allow you to just start sending out those messages over email. So here you can actually see one of the campaigns that I created. Pretty solid, 40% open rate, 7% reply rate. This is a little bit of an old campaign, so since then I've built many more, but this is just an example, and this is really conducive if you're trying to cover volume. That being said, I really do believe that these days, if you're going after a very saturated industry, if you're selling into an audience that frankly has been sold to a lot, doing fully automated outreach campaigns doesn't work that well anymore. So instead, I would actually recommend you just simply personalize your cold emails and make it super, super targeted, super, super relevant. And the way that you would scale this wouldn't be with technology. Instead, you would just hire salespeople, hire appointment setters, and have them pretty much do this personalization for you so that you can focus your time on other elements of your business. So here's an example. I actually got this pitch myself. This video editor, he actually found my YouTube channel, and not only did he call it a specific YouTube video that he liked, but he also gave me specific recommendations as to how I could have improved it. And then he pretty much pitched me on saying, hey, I can take your channel to greater heights. I can fix some of the mistakes that you were making. Let me know if this works. I really, really love this approach because frankly, it just shows he's done the research. I have a much higher degree of confidence that he's going to be able to help me out. And I actually ended up working with him. And yes, you're probably going to be only able to send out 10% as many of these emails as the ones that you could send out with these softwares that are sending out, that can probably shoot 1,000 a day if you really wanted it to. The conversion rate on this is gonna be so much higher that my argument is, especially if you're selling into a saturated industry, this is a much better method of actually booking calls. Whether it be Pepper or Dripify or Apollo, I've actually included the links to try them out in my description box below, and that way you can give them a test drive if you'd like. But that's not where it ends, because even if someone is aware that you exist, they're not gonna always just book a sales call right out of the gate. In fact, a lot of the times, people are gonna be so skeptical, having been burned in the past by other shitty vendors, or perhaps they just have gotten so many messages that they simply can't tell you apart from everyone else. People are just not going to be willing to book that sales call immediately. And that's why this third stage, which is about indoctrination, is important. Indoctrination is essentially you furthering the trust, furthering your credibility by sharing helpful content. On average, it actually takes around 7 touch points before a prospect is going to trust you enough to buy. And that means from the first time a prospect becomes aware of your existence, they probably need to maybe see additional case studies or watch additional videos or just hear your name somehow pop up in their life 7 times before they're willing to actually trust you enough to jump on a call or buy your stuff. The easiest and most common way is to be collecting their emails and then sending them additional email nurtures. So whether you are utilizing Facebook or Instagram or YouTube, there's very easy ways to collect their emails by just saying, hey, do you want this free asset? All right, come give me your email in exchange for this asset. And then once you have their email, you can continuously market to them more and more and more. Another method is just the social content in and of itself. YouTube is a great example because YouTube can capture new prospects, but once people are in, they'll watch more and more of that video content, and over time, YouTube on its own will be able to nurture people. I think you can achieve the same with Instagram and Facebook because obviously you can continue to share more and more content there. It's a little bit harder because that content isn't evergreen, right? You're rarely gonna see an Instagram post or a Facebook post from a year ago show up in someone's feed in the same way that YouTube can show up in someone's feed even if it's an old video. But it's still an effective way for you to catch people up, continue to build that relationship and get them warmer. Webinars and VSLs are really great because I just believe in video, right? A VSL is essentially a video sales letter. It might be anywhere from 10 to 30 minutes. And if you can get someone to opt in and watch that after they've initially met you on social media, that 30 minutes of you explaining to them over video of how they can achieve a goal or solve a problem massively increases trust. And after they finish watching the webinar or VSL, they're much, much more likely to want to book a call with you and buy your stuff, assuming your video content was good, right? And the final method is you can just DM them. Have an actual conversation with them back and forth, build trust in that dialogue, whether it be yourself or maybe you hire an appointment setter who manages the DMs for you. And those are all ways that you can continue to create trust even after the first touch point so that they ultimately want to jump on a sales call with you. And this is really important, guys, because even if you're able to generate a bunch of sales calls from people just opting in to your calendar link, from having seen an email of yours or a Facebook message of yours, they're gonna arrive to that sales meeting very skeptical if they've never heard of you before. Whereas if you get that same person to just consume an extra 3 or 4 hours of your content, video, written, it doesn't matter, they will convert on the sales call much more frequently, even if they came into your funnel the exact same way, right? It's that content consumption in the middle that really makes the biggest difference. All right, so finally, how do you scale all of this? If you really want to be able to achieve freedom in your business, you need to make sure that marketing and sales runs on autopilot, right? And then you also need to make sure that you can fulfill and keep your clients happy on autopilot as well. It's really important that as your team gets bigger and as you get more clients, you're not so tied down to the day-to-day operations of making marketing and sales work or making fulfillment work. In fact, the test that I like to use is the vacation test, which is if you disappear for a month, will your company still work without you? And if the answer is no, because parts of your business just stop running entirely if you're gone, then you don't have a scalable business, right? And the way that you can solve this is via 2 things: technology and team. So overall, if you can systematize your business by having people do all the things that machines can't do, and then wherever machines can fit in and softwares can just automate stuff, have those play a role in your organization. And that way you can ultimately remove yourself from your business, and pretty much any 7-figure organization is constructed in this way. So with scale, I can go a little bit deeper. Outreach needs to be automated. Maybe you're using technology, or you've already hired appointment setters to manage your booking. Perhaps you're creating a lot of content, but even the content, you're utilizing a content creation team, a content management team. For me, I have video editors on staff, and I have someone that helps me post my social media so that it's not as much on my plate. And then paid traffic is another way that you can really automate your marketing. Obviously, it takes quite a long time to solve paid traffic, and it can be quite expensive. But once you can figure out how to put $1 in with ads and have $4 come out in terms of paying clients, you've really solved a massive issue that typically occurs with business in terms of scalability. Fulfillment, with an agency, you're just gonna have to scale your fulfillment team, right? Obviously, whether you're doing a video editing agency or you're doing a lead generation firm, you need to make sure that you have people that can fulfill for your clients. So in order to do this, you need to productize your offer. You gotta make sure that if you have 10 clients coming in, that your offer is streamlined enough that you can continuously execute it again and again, as well as productizing your offer, which means making your offer more standardized so that as you get 10, 20, 30 new clients a month, that all of the clients can be essentially fulfilled upon in the same way. So it's much easier for you to hire a team and train your team and build SOPs. When you have a very customized offer and every single client is super, super different, it becomes much more difficult for you to actually build a team that can fulfill on those deals. So that's really, really important, all right? That was it. Hopefully this was helpful to you. Now, if you wanna get a little bit more insight on how to really scale your business to the next level, I have a masterclass that I've included for free in the description box below. It's about how you can scale from 0 to 20K per month in literally just 90 days with no paid ads at all. So check it out. It's something that I was really proud of making, and I know it's gonna be beneficial for you. So with that being said, if there's nothing else, check out some of these other recommended pieces of content. It might be valuable for you as you're going through your entrepreneurship journey. And with that being said, I will see you on the other side.